Yeah. That first sip of lovely, delicious, ice cold coffee in the afternoon, working on the computer, doing some homework. Well, not academic homework, but the work I ought to do at home. And then there's my roommate, who's a little bit more handsome than I, working on the work that he needs to do at home. And what are both of us doing? Sitting like you. What's that mean? You're probably going to need a break. Step out of the chair, work on that lower back, work on them hips, those legs, those shoulders, that neck, and dial yourself in. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to find a space or create a space. Could be with a mat, could be on your carpet. And you're going to stand in a forward fold at the top of your space, wherever that space is. Now all we're going to do is hang out here for a little bit. What I mean by hang out is have your hands resting on something. Maybe you can hold your elbows if your hands don't reach the floor. Shift the weight around in your feet. I like going front to back. Swaying side to side is also nice. Pedaling the knees can also be a fruitful activity. Ultimately, what you want to create is a space where your hips can feel unlocked and your spine loose. Following that, we're going to step back with our right foot and set ourselves up for a low crescent lunge. So nice and easy. The right knee is going to be on the ground. Your left knee is going to be bent at about 90 degrees. Release your arms down by your side. Ensure that your hips are square, your spine is long, and then lift your right arm up. Take a breath in. Exhale and fall over to your left. When you're ready, inhale, come up, stack your shoulders over your hips again, and then place your hands on the earth, framing the front foot. We're going to spend a few rounds here straightening and rebending the left knee. All right, so when you're ready, inhale, straighten the left leg, and rebend the left knee. And do that a few times with the option of keeping your left toes on the ground or pulling the left toes up towards the face. Inhales will take you into your lunge. Exhales will take you into your fold. Now, after you've done that to your satisfaction, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee up off the floor, step forward. Now I like to halfway lift when I get to the top of the mat. You're eventually going to arrive in a forward fold, certainly. And then we're going to do the same sequence, but on the opposite side. So step the left leg back. Place the left knee on the floor and find your low crescent lunge with your shoulders stacked over your hips. Take some time finding the stability and equanimity in your pose. And then after that, we're going to perform the same side bend, lifting our left arm up, taking a lateral bend to our right. When you're ready to breathe in, come back up, and then frame your hands on the floor outside of your front foot. Here again, we're going to perform the same sequence of straightening the front leg and folding over the thigh, and then rebending into the right knee. Now, as you're performing this, right, you might have some motion here in the right ankle. You have the option of pulling the right toes towards the face or keeping the toes on the mat. After you perform this round to your satisfaction, step forward again, halfway lift on an inhale, exhale into a forward fold. Inhale, rise again, lift your arms up, stand tall, and then turn the palms away from one another. Guide the hands down and clasp your hands behind your back. Now, this pose here that we're going to do with our hands clasped behind our back is going to be a pose that can be done alternatively with a strap. If your hands cannot clasp, you can also just touch your fingertips if you like. But if your hands are clasped, or if your fingertips are touching, or if you're holding that strap, you're going to extend the arms back, reaching the knuckles away from your hips and towards the ground. Circularize the chest so that way the heart points upwards towards the sky. Take a breath and then holding on to those hands or holding on to that strap, forward fold. Now, you're looking between the knees. The knuckles are pulling away from the hips and reaching towards the ceiling. You can take a bend to your right and then a bend to your left. And then once you're satisfied, you're going to use the strength of your arms to take you up. Now, after you've come up, you're going to release your arms, step your feet fairly wide, right about a leg's length apart. Take your hands to your hips, got the elbows close together, perform a small back bend, and then roll through the hips and fold forward. So now you're coming into a wide-legged forward fold. We're going to dwell here for a few breaths. Have the weights underneath the feet evenly distributed. Place your hands in a comfortable space. Allow the neck to melt away from the shoulders. And if you like, you can walk your hands forward and come into a modified down dog here with the legs really, really wide. This feels great personally for my side body. I also like the option of placing my fingertips on the floor and tenting my fingers to give myself a little more height. To exit the space, walk the hands back towards the feet. Place the hands on the hips, lift halfway, and then press the hips forward. Stand tall, roll the shoulders back and down. After you're done with that, step your feet together. Yep. And then we're going to set ourselves up for a chair pose. Now, I moved my body so that way you could see better how I'm sitting in my chair pose, but you can stay facing the same direction that you are. After you set yourself up for chair pose, knees behind the toes, hips reaching back, you're going to take a twist to one side. Follow your breath, exit out of the twist, take the twist to the other side. Follow your breath, come back to the center, place your hands on the floor, and then what we're going to do is set ourselves up for a high crescent lunge. Step your left foot back, find stability underneath the front foot. Lift the arms in the air as you inhale. And then exhale, bend your elbows 90 degrees. Begin to drop your back knee towards the mat until the back knee is hovering just a few inches up off the mat. You have an option here to take a deep back bend, lifting the heart up, rotating the arms back. When you're ready to exit, extend yourself completely. Reach the hands forward. Step forward into a forward fold, and as I said earlier, I like to take a halfway lift in between. When you're ready, we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Step your right foot back. Find stability underneath both feet. Create a line of symmetry from your hips to your ears. On this round here, we're also going to extend our arms up on an inhale. To exhale, bend our elbows 90 degrees in a cactus arms on an exhale. You have an option to bend the back knee deep. You also have an option to perform a back bend, lifting your heart up, exalting the shoulder blades against the back ribs. And when you're ready to exit, extend up, reach forward, plant the hands on the mat, and this time we're going to step back into a downward facing dog. Now, have your feet be as wide as your hands. Give yourself a good foundation underneath your hands. Press through the earth with each fingertip. Lift the right leg into the air, bend the right knee, and circle that baby out a few times in one direction. Do the same in the opposite direction. And then you're going to extend your right leg straight for three-legged dog before floating and stepping the right foot forward between your hands. Following this, place your right hand on top of your right knee. Press down with the right hand and twist to the right. Now you have an option here, right? You can stay in this twist with the knee on the ground, or you can lift the back knee up off the floor. For those of you lifting the back knee up off the floor, you have the option to stay there. Or if you like, you can take the back knee to the floor and then bend your left knee, guiding the left heel towards your glute. And take a hold of that foot that's in the air and give yourself a nice quad stretch. To intensify the treatment, In that quad stretch, sink your hips towards the front heel. Whatever variation you choose, exit out of the pose and plant your hands on the earth, this time inside of your right foot. So now you have arrived here in a lizard lunge, or a runner's lunge, as some like to call it. Now you can stay here if you like with your arms extended, palms on the floor. Try to keep your hips square, your spine neutral, and sink your hips towards the floor. As an option, you can guide your forearms to the ground if you like and invite some passivity to the spine, allowing the spine to round and treating this as more like a forward fold. When you're ready to exit this pose, walk the right foot across your space until it ends up behind your left hand. We're setting ourselves up here for a pigeon pose. Your right shin is perpendicular, or as perpendicular as it can comfortably be. Once you have your shin set, your hips square, your spine long, surrender your heart forward and down. I like to stack my hands underneath my forehead, particularly on the first round. This gives me a feeling of security, of integration, and it also helps keep my spine in one plane. You can use blocks if you like, you can use a pillow if you like, or you can remove your hands completely and rest your hands on the floor. Now we've been here for a few breaths already. We're going to be here for just a few breaths more. Expand with the belly. Exhale, soften in the ribs. When you're ready to exit, plant your hands down, elevate your spine, and eventually transition yourself into a downward dog. After you arrive in your downward dog, we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. This time we're going to sweep our left leg into the air, bend our left knee 90 degrees, and then open that hip up. I like drawing circles. You can just stack the hips if you want. After you spend some time doing that, step your left foot forward, set your right knee on the floor. Now you're in that low lunges type position, and we're going to twist to the left, placing our left palm on top of our left knee. You have the same options here as you did last time. Back knee can come up off the floor if you like, or you can set it down. You can keep the back knee on the ground the entire time and stay still if you want, or you can bend the back knee. Take a hold of that back foot and give yourself a nice quad stretch by holding onto that foot and sinking your hips towards the front heel. When that's completed, exit out of the pose. You're going to place both hands inside of your front foot. So both hands are inside of your left foot now. Left foot is a little bit wide, outside of your shoulders, certainly. Setting ourselves up for the lizard lunge here. Again, you have the option to keep your arms straight. You also have the option of guiding your forearms down to the mat. You have the option of supporting your head in any way that you see fit. We're going to remain here for an equal amount of time as we were when we did the other side. So breathe deep. Be patient with yourself. And then when you feel satisfied, begin to lift your heart up and navigate your left foot to arrive on the opposite side of the mat. So, with your shin perpendicular now, resting on the mat, left foot behind the right hand, you're going to ensure that your hips are square, your spine is long, surrender your heart forward and down, and come to a rest here. You can use your hands to support your head if you like, or you can not use your hands at all. Now again, here we're going to be here for a few breaths longer than we have been in most of the other poses. Inhale with an essence of fulfillment. Exhale with an essence of ease. When you're ready to transition out, you're going to guide yourself into a downward facing dog again. Again, here I'm going to invite you to step your feet a little wider than it would be with your toes together. You don't have to be hand width apart if you don't want to. Following this, downward dog, I'll ask you to shift forward into a high plank. Get some length. Exhale, press back into a down dog. And then guide your knees to the floor and sit back into a child's pose. We're only going to be in child's pose here for a breath. Following that, lift your chin, look forward, slink forward, and rest your torso on the floor. Perform a lift with each leg, keeping the leg straight as you do. Right leg up, and then right leg down. Left leg up, and then left leg down. Now we're going to perform rolling cobra. Rolling cobra is performed by lifting the heart and drawing the heel towards the glute. You're going to lift with the heart and squeeze the heel towards the glute, and do that for a few rounds. Now, after you've completed your rounds, keep your knees on the floor, lift your hips away from the floor a little bit, so you're coming into a quasi-tabletop position. Keeping this quasi-tabletop position, invite your hips to fall to the left. Guide your hips back to center, allow your hips to fall to the right, and natural shoulder rotation will occur. You can do that a couple more times if you want. If you feel satisfied after doing a round on each side, ensure the knees are together, and then sit yourself back into a hero's pose. This is a kneeling position, so you'll walk your hands back, shins resting on the mat, hips resting on the heels, shoulders stacked over the hips. And we'll take a few breaths here. Now I know that this can be a little difficult for people with sensitive ankles and sensitive knees, so we're not going to be here long. So after your next breath, release your legs, sweep your legs around, and then shift your hips forward. After you shift your hips forward, you're going to be setting yourself up here in a bridge pose. Right? So you're going to have the soles of the feet on the floor, knees bent. You're going to lay the length of your back on the mat. Ensure that there's not too much pressure resting on the neck when you lift your hips up here. After you lift your hips up, right, take some time settling into your pose. Distribute the weight evenly underneath all four corners of the feet. When you lift the hips up, ensure that what you're doing here is you're creating length in the spine, not compression. So you don't need to lift your hips up so high that your lower back hurts. Just give yourself a space to feel long, to feel strong, to feel open, and then when you're ready, melt yourself down one disc at a time. Once your hips return to the mat, we're going to perform a funky little twist here. Stack the right thigh over the top of the left thigh, like you would for an eagle pose. Hook the leg and bind the outer right ankle to the outer left shin. Float the knees up, and then guide your knees to the left, so the inner arch of the right foot will rest on the mat. The hips will be rotating to the left. Ensure that your right shoulder is grounded on the mat, and if you like, invite your chin to fall away from your knees. To exit this space, neutralize your neck. Ensure your arms are open out to a T. Float your knees back to center, and then set your feet on the ground again. Take a moment to neutralize and then perform the same twist going to the opposite side. Stack the left thigh on top of the right thigh. Bind the outer edge of the left foot to the outer right shin. Having your legs here similar to an eagle pose, float the feet up, guide the knees to the right, and then after you find that resting position with your knees falling to the right, feet on the floor, anchor down into your left shoulder and rest. Once satisfied, neutralize the neck Float your knees back to center. Unbind your legs and then guide the soles of the feet to the floor again. Now, after you guide the soles of the feet to the floor, guide your arms down by your side and take your time extending one leg forward and then the next. It is at this time that I will invite you to settle into your Shavasana. Now this Shavasana is important, so I ask that you don't skip it. The reason why this Shavasana is important is because this is the space that you restore. This is the paycheck that you get from all the work that you just put into your asana practice. So make yourself comfortable. Set your bones up just right. Make sure your clothes feel comfortable, that the contact that your skin is making with all surfaces feel like are points of contact that you enjoy. And then once you have arrived in your alignment, trust in your alignment and surrender the weight of your bones to the earth. When you're ready to exit your space, draw the left foot in, press down off of that foot, and roll onto your right side, coming into a fetal position. After taking a couple of breaths on your side, you're going to plant one hand on the floor and press yourself up into an easy cross-legged seated position. Walk the hips back a couple of times. Extend the spine upwards, roll the shoulders back and down, and rest your hands comfortably wherever they would like to be. Holding onto your knees or with the palms facing upward on top of your knees or resting in your lap. And once you're there, take a few breaths. Collect yourself. Guide your palms to touch with your hands at heart center. One more breath in together. One more exhale before we go. Thanks for coming in. My name is Chris. I teach for the University of San Diego. You can connect with me on Instagram at Christopher Czar or visit my website at chriszarneckiyoga.studio. Thanks for dropping by. Enjoy the rest of your day.